Right. We're going to give probably about 2 more minutes to give people more time to come in. It's 1:31. And as Biz said a few seconds ago, hello everyone. We're so glad you are here with us on this Friday Eve. Hey, Miss Crudup.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
Good. And it's Thursday, not Friday.
I said Friday Eve.
Oh, okay.
I'm preparing mentally for Friday.
Okay.
I know. I wish it was Friday though.
Oh, they come too soon.
It does. All right. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. I am April May, Coalition and Programs Director here with MELA. And today we're going to have a very informative PN5 informational series talking about baby accounts. And so the reason why you're here today, because Inform for the Future. We believe that together we can build a state-of-the-art early care and early childhood system for Mississippi, one that supports children and families from the very beginning. And so we are going to talk about that, and that falls right in line with our goal. Uh-oh, I'm moving the wrong thing. All right, here we go. So a quote that we like to use here is that the future we imagine for Mississippi's children begins with the courage that we show today. And this quote grounds our work. And the future we and everything that we do through this coalition is about turning that vision into reality. Going back to our 2030 goal is that Mississippi's early childhood system will be state of the art, fueled by robust data and resources and cross-sector collaboration to meet the needs of all children and families. A little bit about our coalition and who we are. Forum for the Future brings together the people and partnerships shaping Mississippi's early childhood landscape. We are a coalition of coalitions and individual members, right? We are at 393, and I'm hoping by the end of April we're at 400 members. But we are all committed to collective action for children and families. And together we share ideas, coordinate strategies, and drive change so that every child in Mississippi can start strong and stay strong. When we think about our goal, this brings forth our common agenda. And this is a diagram of our common agenda, how we have and how we're striving for a coordinated, efficient system. And there you will see our three priority areas: strong families, state of the art early care and education, and healthy mothers and children. Our common agenda is online now. You all can view that on our website, mississippifuture.org, so that you can take a deeper dive into those three priority areas that you see there. And within those priority areas, we do have individual priorities within those. And so for today, the one that falls with what we're going to be discussing today is strong families. And our priorities there is to empower families, expand leave access, and support well-being. And so we're doing that today by bringing this information to you all. And this is very short and brief, my intro, because I want us to have time to listen to our guest speaker for the afternoon. If you are not a member and you would like to join the coalition and learn more about who we are, again, this is a map of some where our members are located, then I would like for you to have the opportunity to scan this QR code. Membership is free. but membership will connect you with partners across the state, and it will give you access to tools, resources, and opportunities to engage in this work that we're doing. And the commitment is flexible and based on your capacity, but it includes staying informed, participating in meetings, and helping amplify this work within your networks. And you all may be members if you're receiving this email. If you received the email and saw the communications about today, then you may be a member. But please share this information with your colleagues, with your coworkers, so that we can all continue to build this organization, build this coalition, and be in partnership with each other. So if you are already a member, thank you. And if you are not a member, we are looking forward to seeing you sign up today using that QR code. And we have a group me that we use during our Capital Day. We use our group me so that everyone can stay informed during Capital Day. So that was one purpose of it. And then also during the legislative session, we were given updates in that, keeping everyone in the know of what was going on at the Capitol. And so we also want you all to join this group me for ongoing communications. And that way you will always know what's happening with Forum for the Future and being aware of activities and events that we're having coming up soon, because we have a full calendar and that we will be sharing some things with you all in the future regarding what's next. And so if you follow our social media sites, you may more than likely this is what grabbed your attention to bring you here today. And so our current PN5 info series is going to be on what are 530A baby accounts, also known as Trump accounts. And so if you saw this, thank you for joining us today. And we also want to thank our supporter, the WK Kellogg Foundation, for their support in providing for their support today and making sure that this webinar happened. And so we're going to have our guest speaker, Jeff. And Jeff is a policy expert focused on improving outcomes for children and families experiencing poverty. Raised in a working class immigrant family, his early experiences shaped his commitment to service and equity. He began his career during the 1992 campaign of Bill Clinton and later worked at the Urban Institute studying welfare reform and early childhood. He also served as a senior policy advisor at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services under Barack Obama, helping oversee major federal programs for children and families. He is the founder of the Policy Equity Group, supporting organizations in advancing effective policy and advocacy efforts. And so I'm going to stop sharing here and I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, April. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Can you see my screen?
Uh,
Yeah. Takes a minute usually to. Yeah, thumbs up. Excellent. Thank you, Alexis. So good afternoon, everybody. Thank you guys for having me. I wanted to spend a little time talking about an opportunity for children and families that I think is really important. This is hard. There's a lot of feelings around this, particular, opportunity because it's named Trump accounts, and just thinking about sort of all of the things that the administration has done over the past year, cutting Medicaid, cutting SNAP, and things that are really negative. Like, there's one thing in that bill where all those cuts are, which is actually really good for children and families. And I didn't want that to get lost. And I think it's really important for all of us to think about how we can spread the word on this, even though we hate the name. And so we're going to talk a little bit about Trump accounts and what you need to know. It's a little complicated. So if you have questions as we go, raise your hand, and I feel free to stop me, because I think it's important to make sure that everybody gets this information and gets this information out to families so that they know that this opportunity exists. So I'll just kind of start with, what are these Trump accounts? And I think what's really important to know right off the outset, and April kind of put this in the flyer, is that, it goes by a bunch of different names, right? So the administration likes to call this program Trump accounts, and that's actually what it's named in the legislation. But you might hear it as a 530A account because that's the section of the legislation, this one big beautiful bill legislation that authorizes this. So you might hear it as 530A, and then the nickname for this is baby bonds because it's an allocation for newborns, and so essentially what these Trump accounts are these tax advantaged investment accounts that were created last year through the reconciliation bill. It was named the One Big Beautiful Bill. And I think what's most important, so these accounts can be formed for any child under the age of 18, right? And so you can have them. But what's really important about it is that if a child is born in 2025, so last year, this year, next year, which is 2027, or 2028, the US Treasury would put $1,000 in that account. So it's literally a free $1,000, for children who are born last year, this year, and then in the next 2 years. And so, we want, as many families to access this as possible, right? And so what happens is you can't use the money right away, right? The money stays in the account until the child turns 18, and it grows over time. And the child can access it for when he or she turns 18 to use for sort of start of their own life sort of expenses like houses. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then when they turn 18, they access it without penalty if they're paying for college or buying a house. So this is why I think it's really important to talk about it, because it is this opportunity for free money from the government, and particularly for newborns. And so just to make sure everybody understands kind of who is eligible. So the child has to be a citizen or resident and have a social security number. And I'll talk a little bit about the forms that you have to fill out, ask for the child's social security number. The child has to be under the age of 18 when the account is created, and you can't have more than one account. So if you've got a 530A account, you're ineligible for another one. And I think what's really important and very frustrating to those of us who think baby bonds are really important is that you don't just get the money, right? Enrollment is not automatic. Families have to apply for it, right? And so they can apply for it either through, filing their taxes, or there's a website that I'm going to show you. And so, and that's not great, because then, the families who need it most probably have the least resources to know that this is happening, and the least resources to sort of fill, to apply. So we need to be helping them. And I'll show you a video from Cory Booker in a little bit that talks about how frustrated he is with this piece in particular. And then, not everyone can apply for the Trump account on behalf of the child. The child has to be your dependent child in order to be able to enroll. And when I send out the slides, there's some resources from the IRS that talks about sort of how to define dependent child and things like that. Okay, and so I mean the big thing with this particular initiative is the $1,000 that you get as a newborn. And so there's a section of the bill, section 6434, and they're calling it the Trump Accounts Contribution Pilot Program. So this is like a pilot right now. So they're trying to see how many people are going to access it. And so we definitely want this to continue. So we're hoping that we get robust participation. And as I said, children who are born between January 1st of 2025 and December 31st of 2028 receive a $1,000 federal deposit if their parents enroll them in this. And I think the other important thing is families don't have to do anything else but enroll them. And so there's no cost. Families don't have to put in any of their own money. It's just like open it up, let the Treasury put the $1,000 in, and let it grow. And so, and the funds are invested sort of in these safe kind of stock market indexed accounts I'll talk about in a second, and they grow over time. And so the earlier that the families enroll, the sooner that the funds begin to grow. The earliest that we can start, the Treasury will contribute is July 4th of this year. And so you want to start right at the beginning and sort of get that money in and then let it grow until the child turns 18. And so, is this worth it? And so it strikes me that, if you have a newborn child, that, the growth that you will see from this seems to make it worth it. So, you know, the money goes in, it goes into these investment accounts, and so even if you don't put anything else in for the entire time that it's in the account, it adds up. And so what we have here is just kind of a little chart, like, so this is like, the age of the child when they turn an adult, when they take out the money, right? And so that $1,000 put in at birth, when the child turns 18, is going to be probably around $6,000. And there's actually a table that I can send that this is kind of, based on the historical trends of the stock market, this is how much it would be worth. But if there's a particularly robust, stock market, then it could be worth as much as 13,000. And if the stock market's not doing as well, it could be worth as little as 3,000. But 6,000 is kind of the average. And then if by chance there's, the family puts in $250 a year through those 18 years, then the growth is more like 19,000. So, but with no additional contribution, the child, turns 18, it's worth about 6,000. Leave it in until the child's now 27, becomes 15,000. And if you don't touch it until you're, approaching retirement, it's worth a lot. So this is like, this whole notion of like compound interest and sort of in growth over time. And so, but typically what will happen, which I'm thinking will happen, is the child turns 18 and then they want to pay for college or buy a house. They would take it out and use this money. And so I think one of the interesting, like there's so many, in working on this, I get asked so many different questions about this. And, there's so little trust of this administration that, one of the questions that I get is that, isn't Trump just going to use this to invest in his own companies and like all of his cronies? And so what's important to know is if you look at the legislation and look at the regulations, there are only certain investments where this money can be placed, and they're called eligible investments. And so it has to be something from a bank or like a financial institution like Fidelity or Charles Schwab or any of those, where it's a mutual fund or an ETF that is tied to the stock market. So it tracks sort of the index of U.S. companies like Standard & Poor's, like the 500, S&P 500 or something like that. So there's very little discretion in how this money can be invested when it's put into the Trump account. It has to be in a mutual fund or ETF that tracks the stock market, that doesn't use leverage. Like you can't borrow money to sort of invest like through a margin, so they can't do that. And then it has to be a very low fee account. And so, this money will be taken by the Treasury, put in the Trump account, invested in these indexed funds, and then it will grow. And so just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that. And then there are opportunities, like once it's established, for other individuals or organizations to invest in it. And so I know like DC, for example, has a baby bonds sort of policy. There's a pilot going on in New Mexico. So those states and localities can use these accounts to, push money into the baby bonds and sort of increase the amount. And then you would see the amount that, it would grow to bigger amounts over time. Nonprofits could put money in. And then there's a specific provision around employers can contribute $2,500 annually. And that contribution is not counted towards employee income. So I have one of my employees who had a baby last year. She is eligible. I could put in $2,500, and I could also set up a mechanism by which she could put in as much as $25 pre-tax. And so there's another way to be able to contribute to that. And then there are qualified rollover contributions. So God forbid if a child dies while they have a Trump account, that can be rolled over to a sibling and contribute that. Don't like talking about that one. And then there are contributions from other sources like parents or philanthropists. And I think one of the things that was interesting, I think it was about a month ago or maybe a little bit longer, the administration, the president had a summit, a Trump account summit. And they had all of these high net worth individuals, all the billionaires come together to the White House, and they just love this program. They love it so much because they talk about it being like, this is an investment in capitalism. And so they think that, by investing in these accounts, like giving kids money through these accounts, the kids can watch it grow, learn about the stock market, and learn more about capitalism. So what you're seeing is a lot of these like very wealthy people like the Dells, like pledging really large contributions, like billions of dollars. And so they'll, parents who open these accounts for children, these philanthropists are going to put more money in. I'll talk about that in a second. Yeah, so essentially one of the big things is that, so you can do these Trump accounts for any child that is under the age of 18, but only those newborn kids, 25, 26, 27, 28, are getting the $1,000. So the question is, if you had a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old, like, why would you open one of these, right? Especially if you weren't going to contribute anything. And so I think one of the reasons why you would think about it is that like companies and foundations and employers, might want to put money in them, right? And so the Dell family, Michael Dell, the guy who builds the computers, he's pledged $6.5 billion to go into these accounts. And so what he's going to do is every child under the age of 10 living in lower income communities, I think communities with a median income of less than 150,000, they will deposit $250 in the account. So you're getting, if you're a newborn, you're getting 1,000 from the Treasury, and then you're going to get $250 from the Dells, right? And so that's good. And I think we're thinking that other very wealthy people are going to also contribute. So it might be worth opening it, not putting anything in yourself, just in case there's an opportunity for other individuals who have a lot of money to put in here. And so we're thinking additional pledges are going to follow, and the only issue is that you're not going to be able to get it unless you have an account open. So that was kind of one of the other things that we wanted to make you aware of, and one of the other things that I'm thinking about. Okay, so how do you apply? So there are two ways that a family can apply, and I don't know if you guys are like me, but like I file my taxes at the very last minute, right? And so one of the reasons why we wanted to talk in early April is we feel like there's probably going to be a lot of people filing their taxes between now and April 15th, and the easiest way to end up like getting a Trump account set up is just to file one more form with your taxes, and it's called a 4547 form. And so that's one way to do it. And let's say you've already filed your taxes, and so you can't do it through the federal tax form. It's no big deal. The other way you would do it is through a website called trumpaccount.gov. Right, and it only takes a few minutes. The parent and guardian has to do it, and you don't really need any expertise at all. So let me see if I can do. I'm going to try to be tech savvy and move some stuff around here. So this is what. Can you guys see this now? This should be the form. Okay, so this is what the form looks like that you would file with your taxes. Right, and so you just put kind of your name in here. You put your children's information. Remember, you have to have a social security number for this. So you put their social security date of birth, their relationship to you, and then if you have more than 2 children that you want to apply for, there's a supplemental form. So that's not a big deal. So you would do that, and then you would if they're newborn, you would check the box to qualify you, and this would get you the $1,000 contribution. And I think the other thing that people are a little wary of is the government collecting more information on me as a result of this. And if you look at this information here, this is the same information that you're providing at the beginning of your tax return for everything. So there's no really new information. This just needs to be filled out because I think it goes to a different department in Treasury, and they're going to route them over there to get these accounts set up. So this is one way. So if you haven't filed your taxes yet, you want to open a Trump account, you would file form 4547, and you tell your parents that you work with to do that. Okay, so that's one way. So let's say you filed your taxes already and you still want to apply. Hopefully, can you see this now? This is trumpaccounts.gov, right?
Yes, we can see it.
Great, thank you. I always worry that I'm talking about something that people can't see, so I appreciate it. And so and so let's see. So let's go back. So this is what you would see when you go there: Trump accounts, Jumpstart the American Dream, whatever, and then you would click Get Started, and then they give you the 4 steps. So you're the authorized individual, you're the child that you're applying for as a dependent, and then your social security stuff that you would put on your tax return already. And this is also great for people who don't file taxes, right? So it's also, you followed them already or you don't file, and then they ask for basically the same information as on the form. Child 1 information, and you kind of go through. Okay. So 2 ways to apply: tax form, Trump accounts.
Is there, I have a quick question. Are there a what's my question? Is there a limit to the number of children that you can sign up for the Trump accounts? Because I know it says add, so okay. On the checks form, I think I saw only 2 children, but on here it just says add. So you can add all kids under 10 or under 18 or
Exactly.
okay.
So what you do here, so it says here, if more than 2 children see instructions, and
Okay.
essentially what the instructions say is that here, fill out this supplemental, this
Okay.
additional form, which looks like this.
Got it.
Okay. Yeah. So you
Okay.
want to, if you have 6 children and you want them all to have a Trump account, you would be able to do that. You just can't have two accounts for one child, one
Okay.
account. That's the only thing.
All right.
Any other
Thank
questions
you.
on that? Sure thing.
Does
April,
anyone
anything
else
else?
have? I don't think so. If you all have any, as he's doing his presentation, you can put them in the chat. But I was just very curious about that one.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. And then, okay. So, all right. So those are the 2 pathways. And so like when you get the presentation, I wanted to make sure you had a copy of the form. So we just talked about this form, and then we just talked about the website. So those are the 2 ways to do it. And then, okay, so here are a couple other things just to know, just as an FYI. Trump accounts are tax deferred, so you don't pay any taxes on them while it's growing. But once the money you're ready to take out the money, there might be taxes. It's very complicated. It's based on sort of, was the contribution pre-tax or whatever. So there's I don't want to go into that. I don't really understand it honestly, but what you should know is that you will pay some taxes on the money once it comes out. So the government puts in the 1,000, it grows. You go to take it out, you won't be able to take out whatever you see. If it's 6,180, you probably end up getting 5,700 or something like that. So taxes will be taken out. And then also, it's just really important to know that you have to use this money for what they call like start of life expenses, and not what they call general consumption. So essentially, like the things that they feel are like start of your own life expenses are like, okay, if you want to pay for college or trade school, that you can use it for that without this 10% penalty. If you want to start a business or a farm, you can use it without a penalty. If you want to buy a house with it, first home, no penalty. If you want to adopt a child, no penalty. And so it's important to know that these if you want to use it for anything else, you're gonna get dinged and another kind of 10% tax on it. And so then there's no penalty at all for, you can use it for anything you want, if you're going to keep that money in there until you're almost 60, which will be like over 200,000. You can use it for whatever you want. And I think the other big important thing to know is that, this really starts, like the contributions will start on July 4th of 2026. And so if you apply to get a Trump account for your newborn for April 15th for the tax deadline, and then it's like June, you're like, where the heck is my Trump account money? You have to understand that they won't even start making the contributions until July 4th. And I think that has to do with, that's the 1-year anniversary of the policy. And I don't know, it has something to do with that. They needed to, they wanted to wait a year to make sure that they got the regulations out and things like that. So it's kind of another thing that you should know. And so it seems like people are signing up for this. And so this is a press release that came out 2 days ago on the 31st, where the IRS is they've seen about 4 million children have been signed up for this through that 4547 form that I showed you. And about 1 million of them were kind of in that newborn category where they could get the $1,000 contribution. And so people are definitely doing this. And so we want to encourage everyone to sort of make sure that they're taking advantage of this. And then this just talks about the stuff that I've already been talking about, like families with eligible children born between 25 and 28 just need to check the box on the form to state their claim for a $1,000 contribution. It's that simple. And then it talks a little bit more about Trump accounts here. So everybody's doing it. So we want to make sure that Mississippi families are getting it too. And then I guess, some of in presenting this, get lots of questions, worried about sort of, trust issues and things like that, which make perfect sense. And, will my personal information be shared? It'll be shared to the same extent that your tax information gets shared. So it's no different than sort of, what the government already has on you and what they and how they use it. So I don't think you have to worry about it being sort of an additional sort of issue. And then, it doesn't create any sort of new public exposure to personal information. And it is safe to sign up for, these are like, the rules that they're using, around the investments and the sign up are kind of the rules that they might use for a 529 or an IRA. So, so you should feel good about that in that regard. And then you can choose not to participate. There's no requirement to do so. You have to opt in, right? And there's no penalty to opt out. And then the most important thing is that it's of no cost to the family. The $1,000 for newborns is provided just because you've opened it, and you don't need to make any contributions at all if you don't want. And so we saw that if you did make a $250 a year contribution, that would grow the account more, but there's no reason to do that. And there are other savings accounts that you can use that are more flexible, so you don't have to worry about that. And then let's see. Okay, so then I think one of the things I wanted to show you is Cory Booker has been an advocate for baby bonds for quite some time, so I wanted to quickly show you this this video. Let's see. All right, can you see him? Can you see Cory? Okay. All right, let's see if I can play it now. See if you can hear it.
Look, love the concept, hate the name. You may have seen a lot of headlines about Trump accounts. Back in 2018, I first proposed something that we called baby bonds, which is simply the creation of an account for every kid born in the United States of America, seeded with $1,000, funded by the government across their lifetime. Then families, nonprofits, local and state governments, philanthropists, employers, they can continue to contribute to these accounts, helping children build wealth over a lifetime. That initial deposit with compound interest could grow into a fund that could launch a young person into a life of expanded possibilities. That's the power of compound interest that the wealthiest of the wealthiest use, but often people who are living paycheck to paycheck could never take advantage of. Here's how the Republican version should be improved. These accounts should be automatic. Every baby born should have an account opened on their behalf and seeded with $1,000. It shouldn't be this friction of having to go and set up those accounts. We should tailor the contributions so that our tax dollars go to the kids who would benefit the most, not just a windfall for wealthy kids. This policy should be made permanent, not just for babies born between now and 2028, but a birthright for all American children. We've always been a country that has said we believe in the power of all children, but here is us putting our money where our mouth is.
Okay, so like why I like that video because it's exactly the reason.
1, 2, 3, make it look easy. Put your ass like
That was fun. It was the next video. We should have watched that too. And so I think what I love about that video is he really kind of highlights all the things that I think about this. It's like he doesn't like the name, but it's a really big benefit. And the fundamental concern is that the wealthy are going to benefit from this, right? And others are not. And so that's a really big issue. And I think it's going to take all of us to make sure that our families, the ones that we work with, are aware of this and have the means and then the information and the support to be able to kind of fill it out. And I think the other part that he talked about is like, this notion of friction, the fact that it's really, and rather than it just being automatically given, there's this friction about having to enroll and figuring out how to do it and things like that. And so what we want to do is try to figure out ways to sort of get rid of that friction and really make sure that we're making it easy for families to do it. And so, that's kind of all the information I have. I'd love to talk to you and answer your questions. I think, one of the things just to know is that some of the details might change around this because there's still some regulations that are pending. And so you just always want to look at trumpaccounts.gov. But what I've just presented to you is like the latest information that we have. So April, that's what I've got.
Well, thank you so much for presenting this information to us today. Do we have any questions from anyone in the Zoom room with us? Any comments, thoughts? Alexis?
I just wanted to know if the PowerPoint would be available to discuss with our organizations or how that will.
Yeah, I actually put it together specifically to share so that the websites are on there, the forms are on there. And so, yeah, I definitely want to get this out to you. I'll get it to April to push out.
Okay, thank you. And we will also have a recording of this session on our Form for the Future YouTube so that they can also see it in real time as well. Brandy says, this is great. Thank you for sharing. One question. Once the account is open, let me get there. Hold on. Once the account is open, how do parents log in to check how it's performing?
Yeah, so that's actually one of the things that the regulations are still trying to work out. So what's going to happen is that like between now and July, before the contributions can go in, the administration is going to choose a number of fiduciaries like banks and other organizations to be the holders of the account. And so what they will do is then when they allocate the money, they will let you know kind of where, like, are you in a Fidelity account? Or are you at a bank? Whatever. And then you would get the information to be able to check it. And so that is TBD. And I am happy to, like, as they sort of finalize some of these rules specifically around who's going to hold the money, I can send that to April so you know for sure.
Thank you. In your opinion, why would someone do the Trump accounts versus a 520 UGMA or UTMA? Is it because of the employer contribution clause?
No, I think the so there's a.
I mean, she said sorry, 529 versus the 529.
Yeah, I knew what you meant. So essentially, so I'm going to send you actually an article that compares all of the different ways to save for children that I think will be helpful. I think it's a no-brainer to sign up for the $1,000. Like you should just do that and get the $1,000 and let it grow. So the difference is like the 529 is specific for education, right? And there are probably more tax advantages, but the Trump account is broader, can use it for broader things with less tax advantages. But so what I can do is send you the send you that article, so it really does a much better job comparing them, and you can really see. But the reasons you sign up for this is, one is for the 1,000 for the newborns, and then the other is like if there are philanthropists that want to allocate money, like the Dells, you just want to have it open so that they can put money into it. And then the question is, do you invest your own money in this? And that's when you would look at the Forbes article on it. Okay, Brandy,
Okay.
I hope that helped a little bit.
Brandy says, thank you. That was really awesome information. This was really awesome information. Thank you, Brandy. Do we have any other questions? Ms. Sylvester, I pinged you in because I wanted you to definitely get this information for your families and your centers. And do we have any other child care providers besides Ms. Sylvester, Ms. Kruta, that are in the room with us today?
Oh, I got to show you guys one more thing.
Okay.
Yeah, just need a second. So if somebody has a question, ask it, and I'll try to get this up.
Okay. Ms. Sylvester, you came off mute.
This was good information to have. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Biz has her hand raised. Oh, go ahead.
So the other thing that I want to show you guys, which I will send to, and thank you for you reminded me of this. Let's see if I can actually share it because it's a little hard. Okay, so the other thing that we've put together is this. Okay. So a Trump account's a guide for organizations serving families to share. So when you're sharing information, so what we have here are two things. So this Trump account, like this is basically information that I shared in a flyer. Like here's a Trump account, here's the eligibility, here's why you might do it. So, this $1,000 for this, if they're under 18 but not a newborn, here's why you might want to do it. And then, what are some of the things that you can do as a trusted community partner to push out the message, right? You can share basic information, you can include the details, you can get families connected to trumpaccounts.gov, and what you're doing really matters. And then here are some talking points for you to use with families. It's like why they might want to do it. And then this is a flyer for the families themselves. Here's what here's what you want to. It's like a little user friendly for the families. It's a new program for you. Who's eligible? How do I sign up? And then how do you get the $1,000? And then what kind of money you can make from this and why it matters to do it. So what I'll do is with the slides, I will also send out these flyers so that you can have it. So,
okay,
sorry,
sounds great.
I interrupted somebody's question, but I didn't want to forget to show that.
Well, thank you. That would be great. That would be wonderful for us to have. And
oh yeah, that's it's for. Oh yeah, my question is, and I think actually one of those flyers may answer this question, Jeff. But let's say you have a 4-year-old, right? Let's say you have a 4-year-old. It's under 10, but you want to open an account, but you don't. Can you open an account and put zero money in it? And if you open a bank account, you have to put money in it, right? Like there must be money in the bank account, otherwise you are dinged a fee every time there's like under however much money. Does that happen here? Do we know?
Yeah, you don't have to put any money in either one for any of your children.
So just an empty account, hoping that somebody else invests.
Exactly. So if you are, and you will get, if your child is under 10 and you live in a zip code where the median income is less than $150,000 a year, you will get $250 from the Dells. Right.
So it was any income and not necessarily where they are located.
No, it is like the reason it's $6 billion is because I think that
makes sense.
Yeah, they want to do it nationally, and
Okay.
it's just about being in a location where there's where it's a lower income zip code.
Got you. Well, thank you for clarifying that for me. I was like, that's nice of the deals.
Yeah. He stood up there with the president and talked about it.
Do we have any more questions, comments? Well, Jeff, thank you. We will look forward to receiving the slides, the handouts, and we will have this recording put on our YouTube page. And we want to thank you again, and also W.K. Kellogg Foundation for giving us this opportunity to learn about the Trump accounts for our communities and families. So thank you all again so much, and we look forward to seeing you all the next time on the next go round.
Thank you, April. Thanks, everybody.
You're welcome. Thank you. We'll be in touch.